Well, those kids do a good job of being cute while being in the one word stage. So hopefully that illustrated for you. Now, on average, around their second birthday, babies will progress into the two word stage. So it's nice of them to develop at the rate, as they are one, they can do one word. When they are two, they can do two words. So it's kind of convenient for memorizing the stages of development. It's not perfect. You may have a baby who can do two word sentences when they're, in the what everybody else is in the one word stage and stuff. It's not perfect, but it's a nice rubric for just sort of overall picturing how language is acquired by babies. We oftentimes have historically called this stage telegraphic speech because it's like they tried to buy a telegram and they wanted to spend as little money as they could, so they only put in the most critical words for conveying their meaning. Modern developmentalists are suggesting maybe we should call it text speech because isn't that, especially in the T9 era, if any of you guys are old enough to have ever done T9 texting, you tried to use as few keystrokes as you possibly could while still conveying your meaning. So we might call it the text speech stage or something. I don't know. Telegraphic speech is, I think, probably going to stick. But the idea is that a lot of times we're going to see sentences constructed of a verb and a noun. So it might be word order might determine whether they're telling you something or they're asking you something. So they might say daddy throw, or they might say throw daddy, right? Depending on whether they are describing that daddy threw something or they might be asking daddy to throw, right? So word order might be one more thing we could add into their repertoire of things that they can do to boost the meaningfulness of these two word sentences that they're uttering. They're still probably going to have some jargon present even in this two word stage, but they'll start to use more words that sound like actual words. So let's talk a little bit about how they're acquiring actual words. There are two main theories of language acquisition. I introduced this as a controversy way back in chapter 1, but let's go ahead and talk in a little bit more detail about what B.F. Skinner said about how language was acquired. So he suggested that language helps us to achieve our goals, and therefore correct usage of the language tends to be more rewarding because it gets us what we want more often. And so we learn language because it allows us to, go where we want to go, or eat what we want to eat, or watch what we want to watch, these kinds of things that, when we correctly use language, other people understand us, and then our goal is met. And so he was strictly, as B.F. Skinner does, looking at the role of rewards, punishments, in the development of language. So let's illustrate this concept with a little demonstration. It's more fun if you actually write down the number of the clue that triggered the recognition and then write down the name of the object right after that. It is more fun if you actually write it down. But I can understand if you just want to watch. But here's what we're going to do. So once you can recognize what the object is, you're going to write down the clue that triggered the recognition and write down the name of the object. At the end, I'll tell you what the object is. All right. So I'm going to teach you a new word called rishid. So number 1, most everybody has a rishid. 2, sometimes very little children are too little for real rishids. 3, rishids come in all different sizes and styles. 4, there are rishids for men and a different one for women. 5, if you have a rishid on the street, you have to be very careful. 6, if you have a rishid, you can see many different sights. 7, it is very healthy to be on a rishid for a long ride. 8, the hardest thing about a rishid is going up a hill. 9, some people even enter rishid races and go for miles. 10, most people like to ride a 10-speed rishid. Okay, those are all my clues, so hopefully you have identified the object and have recognized which clue triggered the recognition and wrote down what the object is. Okay, so the object, hopefully you figured out, is a bike. So one of the things that is problematic for Skinner's theory is, how did you figure that out? I guess he might argue that, it's reinforcing for you to ultimately figure out the solution, right? Like that does make you feel good when you figure out, you're like, oh, I got it. And then to be right, of course, you're like, oh, yay, I was right. But you're sitting by yourself. Nobody's like rewarding you. You're doing it to yourself. And that's antithetical to Skinnerian behaviorism. Like that doesn't work at all in his model. So we have a problem right there with how did you figure out what a rishid was from these clues? Like how did you just learn this new word rishid? Okay, well, Chomsky has an idea. He says that we all carry around in our heads an innate language acquisition device. It's really active in babies. And babies, thanks to this language acquisition device, can discern the different phonemes of the language that is being spoken around them. And we saw that in that one video that I showed. And also the morphemes from the speech stream. If you've ever listened to people speak a language that you don't speak, one of the things that's really tricky is to figure out where one word ends and the next word begins, because it sounds like just a string of nonstop sound if you don't understand the morphemes. So to a baby, a lot of the speech sounds that they're surrounded with, the phonemes and the morphemes, are a speech stream. It's not individual. Now, if you've ever spoken to a baby, you know that you slow down. You talk about the here and the now. You oftentimes talk about objects, right? Things that they can see, handle, things like that. And you tell them the name of it, over and over and over again. So we do a lot of things to help break down the speech stream when we are talking to babies. But babies aren't always the ones being spoken to, are they? A lot of times they're there and other people are talking and they're still listening and processing. So they are designed, according to Chomsky, to discern these components of the language. He wants to make it really super clear. He's not arguing that you're born with an innate language. He's saying that you're born with the innate ability to acquire a language without any formal lessons. You were designed to pick up a language. So this little video will show you that predisposition in action and how we really kind of know that babies really do have this predisposition to acquire language. So enjoy that video. It's another one of these old ones, but it's like I can't find a better one. So perfect.